Ever sat across from your mom or dad and felt your blood boil because they wouldn't take one single bite of that dinner you spent hours cooking? Stop. It's not that you're being heartless. You're terrified. I get that. And you need to know that they aren't giving up. You're both trapped in a metabolic crisis that willpower alone cannot fix. Watching your parent disappear in front of you is unbearable. Every pound lost feels like a countdown, so food becomes the one thing that you think you can control. You cook, you portion, you plead, and when they turn their head away, it feels like they're choosing not to fight. But what most families are never told is that in many cancer cases, appetite loss isn't a mindset problem, it's a metabolic crisis. I know because I went through it myself. Welcome to the Sippable Solution Support Show. I'm Danny Cade, a survivor of a rare form of breast cancer since 2012. When I was in active cancer, I just assumed that hunger would eventually override the nausea and the fatigue, but it didn't. Instead, I lost 80 pounds in just weeks. Food tasted metallic, funky, and just wrong. 2 bites would make my stomach cramp up like I'd been poisoned, or I'd feel like my stomach had just slammed shut right below the collarbone. My body was flat out unable to process food, and eventually I learned the name for it, cancer cachexia. Now, cachexia isn't ordinary weight loss, it's a metabolic shutdown. Tumors and treatments trigger systemic inflammation that sends your hunger hormones on a permanent vacation. While your parent is losing mass, their muscle tissue is literally breaking down, even if they are still trying to eat. In this state, eating doesn't feel nourishing. It feels like an overwhelming obligation that they're failing to meet. And this is why the standard recommendations usually fail. Families are told to serve up their favorite foods and track every calorie, but they're assuming that the barrier is just a lack of motivation. But in cachexia, a full plate is an impossible mountain. When we're pushed to just try, it actually creates an anticipatory nausea. Our body starts associating mealtime with pressure, and that stress response shuts down our digestive system even further. So what happens is your good intentions are making sure that we're getting nourishment is accidentally deepening the cycle of shame for both you and your loved one. And it wasn't until I got to the point where standing up had me seeing stars that my husband and I realized we need to learn a different way. This isn't working. Now, this might sound crazy, but we fired the idea of meals entirely and shifted to a micro intake method instead. 2 to 3 sips of a calorie-dense liquid every 60 minutes became the new goal. There was no expectation to finish a glass and no mountainous plate acting like a visual demand. And that smaller volume also stopped my stomach distress, which in turn took away the nausea and the anxiety too. We also figured out that temperature was a secret weapon. Cool or cold liquids like frozen fruit chunks, ice chips, chilled nutritional drinks reduce the nausea and help blunt out those funky taste changes. We even stopped the cooking smells, which had become really torturous triggers. I'd either leave the area entirely or my husband would have our food prepared in advance and serve it up cool. Most importantly, we changed our language. We threw out phrases like, you have to eat. No, intake became neutral. If I tolerated 2 sips instead of 4, that was a win. Removing that emotional weight lowered my stress, which reduced my nausea. And this wasn't about lowering standards. It was about removing the physiological triggers that were making me worse. So as you navigate this, remember, monitoring needs to be strategic, not obsessive. A 10% loss of body weight within 6 weeks is definitely a big red flag that requires professional intervention. Cachexia is a medical condition, or one that you shouldn't have to carry alone. So please do your best to get oncology and palliative care involved early if you can. All right. Now, if you're already caught up in these food battles with your mom or your dad, please understand this. They are not rejecting you. Their metabolism has been altered in ways that willpower just cannot override. As much as we wish it was possible, we can't guilt a function that has shut down into working again, but we can adapt. So try smaller, colder, more frequent intake with reduced pressure, because these shifts might feel very subtle, but in a wasting state, those subtle shifts offer stability that is very powerful. Now, I have more helpful advice in my free guide called Sippable Solutions. It goes into way more detail on what's going on and why. It has some more helpful tips to try out, and it even has the exact protocol that we used when nothing else worked. Grab it for free from my bio or drop the word help below. DM me if you're watching on TikTok. And please make sure to hit like, subscribe, and follow me on Sippable Solutions so that I can see your comments, and please watch for my reply. Remember, you really don't have to do this alone. Thanks, everyone. I hope this finds you doing well, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye for now.